How to break into Hollywood without moving to Hollywood, part 2. So a lot of you are asking questions like, I really want to make it in Hollywood, but I'm not willing to travel there. I don't want to go to Hollywood. I want to stay where I am. So that definitely makes things harder, but it is possible. But if you're unwilling to get off your ass to come to Hollywood and you want Hollywood to come to you, well, you better really make it worth Hollywood's while. And that usually means IP, intellectual property, that in the form of something that can be marketed very easily. So I gave an example yesterday of a woman who had a very popular YouTube show that my partner and I almost turned into a television series, but that blew up. If you want to know why that blew up, you got to watch that other video. But there are other ways. Let's say you don't want to shoot all that. You want to, you're a writer, you don't really want to shoot something on your camera. And by the way, her video looked great. Like, it was shot really well, so that was kind of impressive. But let's say you just want to focus on the writing. Well, 10 years ago, CBS bought a show called Shit My Dad Says, and that was based on a popular Twitter feed by this guy named Justin Halpern. So he had a charismatic and funny father who'd say wacky things, and this guy just typed it into his Twitter feed, and it kind of blew up. And so you could see why Hollywood reached out to him, because the dynamic between the father and the son was kind of interesting. The father was wacky, and they reached out to him and said, hey, we want to turn this into a TV show. Now, Justin Halpern wasn't experienced enough to do this. And, each episode of a sitcom can cost between $1 million and $2 million. Like, it's expensive. They're not going to trust that with some guy with a Twitter feed. So they got the guys, Cohan and Muchnick, a writing team that I worked with years ago, to develop the show, or to at least run the show. And so they created the show Will and Grace. So they have a great track record. They're pros. They know what they're doing. The studio feels comfortable with them in charge. Great. And so the show was, when it was on the air for a couple of years, it eventually got replaced by a show that I was working on, coincidentally, called Rules of Engagement. But whatever, that was still, it was still a giant success for this guy, Justin Halpern, and good for him for turning his Instagram feed basically into a marketing channel, because when the show was ready, he tweeted out, hey, all my fans who love this, my my Twitter feed, for all my fans, we got a show now on CBS. You'll enjoy that just as much. So obviously that totally helped with the success of the show, and it made it more sellable to CBS. There are other ways to break into Hollywood without those two ways. So I will post that in my next series. If you miss a video in this series, you can catch the rest on my Instagram page @Michael Jamin Writer, and continue following me here for more. Michael Jamin Writer. Thanks.